to the Facebook page, American Family Radio, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. There you'll be treated to hardcore, hard work, show prep. I hope you enjoy it. Having some fun. I love that. Explains the shouting. Oh, it's wonderful. It's passion. That's what the shouting's about. But you might think it's because of the way I do my show prep. Yeah, that's it. No, I don't have to shout. But sometimes I'm making a point and it flows. Interesting, you don't address the substance of what I have to say. Interestingly enough, you probably are going to have a problem doing that, because if you are on the left side of things in general here, not just speaking to the Facebook comment, which I appreciate, by the way, thank you very much, probably end up mocking something, later learning, gee, without the mainstream media attempting to make our political system an episode of Saturday Night Live where we can sit there and when we think of President George W. Bush, we don't think of a man who is sitting there after 17 UN resolutions and intelligence that says that Saddam Hussein is developing nuclear weapons, having just experienced 9/11 where people are going, why didn't you do something about this growing threat? Are you going to wait for a smoking gun? Having the entire Democratic Party's leadership also, as well as a policy of the Iraq Liberation Act, speak to Saddam Hussein and the threat he possesses and poses, pardon me. And you'll characterize that as some cowboy going to war who's not very smart. See, I've gotten to the point where there's a threshold that's been reached where I see Will Ferrell now. And the fact that he can be very funny. I mean, he's a very talented guy. How he uses that, it's his business. But what we've turned into is when I have a conversation with somebody who disagrees with me, they start talking as if George Bush is a moron, which is ridiculous, absurd. Now, I know this for a number of reasons, and one of those is I happen to know people who are very close to this man, but also I looked at his policy and his speeches and the way he handled things, and because you stammer or stutter around occasionally on a question or you use certain expressions, it doesn't make you an idiot. I mean, if you stammer and ah and him and haw and make gas 57 states, it doesn't make you an idiot. No, when you tell people that they'll be able to keep their health care plan, period, it doesn't make you an idiot. When you draw a red line in Syria, it doesn't make you an idiot. A liar, weak, respectively, yeah. But I'm not talking about President Bush now, am I? You see, what we've gotten into is, and this has always been the case to a degree, but it's on steroids when you have someone in the Oval Office who is a community organizer, and that skill set is not good for a president. It's very bad because it's about identifying a particular grievance constituency, and sometimes you can be on the side of right. You can be just in your cause. I'm not saying that. But to go about it, you're going to extract a certain amount of dough. You're not concerned about the whole oftentimes. You're just concerned about that grievance group. And it's about power and about using that power. Like when I think of the community organizer known as Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson, I mean, really, we're talking about people that use their power to extract dough or favors for their own gain or their family's gain. But they're very effective because they use things that we're all very familiar with and that we truly do oppose, which is racism and injustice. So that's fine. I think it's great. I think it's great people comment. I think it's great people are focused in on these things, but these are serious times. I think that Sarah Palin, when I still talk to people who are my friends, who always say to me, you really can't be serious about Sarah Palin. I mean, you know, she's not very smart. I go, really? She's not very smart? Why? Why? Because you saw Tina Fey say something that she did not say and repeat it, and it's a conventional wisdom? I'm supposed to go along with that? Well, I don't go along with that at all. And if we want to go gaff to gaff, I'll take Sarah Palin 6 days a week and twice on Sunday versus any vice president, Gore, or, for that matter, Joe Biden. Get up, Joe! What's that? Oh, bless you. So, with that in mind, Sean Hannity had Sarah Palin on last night. She talked about the Ukraine being invaded and how the policies and posture of President Obama, or then candidate Senator Obama, would lead to that in 2008. Here is a part of that, and the former governor of Alaska last night on Sean Hannity. Some highlights. Roll it.
After the Russian army invaded the nation of Georgia, Senator Obama's reaction was one of indecision and moral equivalence, the kind of response that would only encourage Russia's Putin to invade Ukraine next.
More importantly, than we were right on that, I'm right when I talk about that inherent link between energy and security, energy and prosperity. And when we don't develop our resources, and when we are not able to feed others with our resources, and so many others are reliant upon Russia, who does develop their resources, and with that wealth are able to strengthen their military and their influence and power on the globe, then other nations are in trouble. The perception of him and his potency across the world is one of such weakness. And you know, people are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue, that only a strengthened United States military can do.
Now, it's interesting, she highlights some things on the perception, but I would go to the perception, what she is drawing from that, with a quick quips about mom jeans, and remember when he threw out that pitch? That was, wow. So, I could do that. I could play that game, but I'd rather stick to exactly why she's drawing the perception that she speaks to of the world. It's the fact that there haven't been consequences for Bashar Assad other than getting the protection from Vladimir Putin. There hasn't been consequences for the Iranian regime, and they have publicly mocked the proceedings and the agreement regarding their nuclear program. We can look at what's going on in Afghanistan and the response from President Karzai with the release of those prisoners. Lack of respect. Or we can look at Benghazi. You see, I mentioned this on Friday. If the president was dealing with big coal or big oil, wow, I think we'd probably see a very different foreign policy. But he does not believe in being leader of the free world. He does not believe in the vision of Ronald Reagan, which is security and peace, the Eisenhower model, peace through strength, is not achieved by bailing on your allies and seeking some sort of stability in the name of sanctioning oppression and licensing oppression with it's a multiculturalist point of view. and it undermines our security and sends signals to our enemies that invite aggression and to our allies that we will not be there for them. It undermines our values because we are not articulating what we stand for and what our values are as a historically as a nation. That's a problem. We will pay the price. I keep saying that because I'm praying that people wake up, and I think you're certainly awake. But if somebody's sitting there criticizing the likes of Ronald Reagan and saying, you know who really won the Cold War is Gorbachev. He really, no, Gorbachev did what he had to do, recognizing what Reagan and his policies were doing to that nation, bankrupting it, and the fact that in Reykjavik, he said, I'm not getting rid of SDI. See ya. I'm walking away. Peace through strength. He also wanted to get rid of nuclear weapons, but not at the expense of our security, to demonstrate to the rest of the world how nice we are. How, oh, it's great, we're going to get rid of them, we're going to disarm, you'll disarm. No, you don't share our values. You're interested, if you're the Iranian regime, in a genocidal Armageddon. To bring back the 12th Imam. That's not something we're into. We don't share your values that way. Iranian people, I think, share some of our values, absolutely. Iranian regime, not so much. That all said, Ralph Peters spoke to Vladimir Putin and President Obama. Today, the colonel had this to say. Roll it.
Not punishing enough to get him to change his posture. No, Putin has never backed down from anybody. He's not a bluffer. And he is trained as a KGB agent handler. He sizes up people well. He has Obama's number, and Obama's number is 0. This is a president who talks and does nothing. Putin, did he say, oh, I'm going to get Crimea, I'm going into Crimea, better look out? No, he did it. And that's the way you do it, fait accompli. And unfortunately, the only powerful leader in Eurasia right now, the only real leader, is a horrible, horrible man named Vladimir Putin, and the West has no leader because the President of the United States, except rhetorically, is absent without leave. Obama, it's not that Obama wouldn't like to do something, he has no idea on earth what to do.
And again, I would say at the foundation, he doesn't believe in the United States being leader of the free world. He referenced that in the speech in France where he said Europe's leading historical role. It was the dismissive, even derisive speech that he gave to the students. Anyway, it was in 2009. It's his worldview. I mean, it's the Jeremiah Wright, pardon me, that point of view. Now, it's not about psychoanalyzing President Obama, but you should know that we will know them by their fruits. What are the fruits? Tell me. He has aggressively gone after certain industries and advanced others. He has made crony capitalism the way of what he calls the new foundation through green energy. He has centrally planned our economy. You just heard Chad Groening, I believe, at the top of the hour talking about the budget, which is going to talk about investments. Investments, that's tax dollars going into what he believes is next. What possible expertise does he have in this, and how can he even think of where the economy is going, what the new innovation is going to be, other than to allow the American people to do just that and use their individual gifts to do it? No, he doesn't believe in that. He believes that if somebody has something and it's more than somebody else, it's government's job to make that level. He believes in a finite pie, and government's the divider. Government's going to come in, scoop up, and divide it, and make things just. Now, our founders understood no way the federal government could do that. Even if they do that in states, people can move. But if the federal government does that, you're under the umbrella of the federal government. Wow, where are you going to go? Great question. President Obama may believe in America. He does not believe in the individual rights and freedoms of the American people. And well-intentioned or not, that's just a reality. You can draw that from the policies. He goes into particular groups, and he identifies what he wants to do. He talks about everybody having a fair shake, and he doesn't allow for freedom to work, because freedom will provide that fairness if you're equal under law with consequence. Now, I go to, I want to actually save that one. That one is pretty beautiful. But there is absolute truth. Absolute truth. So what happens when one is brave enough to identify the problem in America? What's the problem? The economic problem? Yes, we have an economic problem. We have a foreign policy problem. Yes, we have a foreign policy, national security problem. We're not funding our military, and we are undermining our allies while encouraging our enemies. Yes. But in cut number 21, Heather McDonald, I played this for you yesterday, and we played part of it. I want to play the whole thing. Takes on Van Jones in a debate. What becomes a debate. Heather McDonald says, hey, look, the problem is fatherlessness. Daddies aren't at home, and it causes a tremendous problem. And she identifies that. I received a wonderful email saying, hey, look, there are dads out there trying to do the best job we can do, and sometimes it's not the mother not allowing us to do this through the legal system. And I recognize that. And if I'm not speaking to you, what I'm doing is speaking to a general problem of dads abandoning their responsibility, and parents in general doing that. But fathers, and the initiative that we're talking about, My Brother's Keeper, was the focus point on this issue. And Heather McDonald was brave enough to say, hey, look, all the government programs, we can pour a lot of money into this. It's about dads, being dads, and accepting responsibility and leading their families. That said, Van Jones disagreed. Here's part 2 of the exchange from This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Roll it.
I'll say one more thing. I do think, I agree with what you're saying about fatherhood, but sometimes my fear is that people will say, well, it's just up to the dads. Dads got to do more. But when you have this many kids in trouble, we all have to do more, and it shouldn't be either or. We got to be able to do both.
There's not a chance that we're going to say that. I mean, nobody's been saying that. That's the problem. We have been doing programs, as we should, with compassion and concern for 3 decades. They haven't made much difference because nobody's willing to talk about fathers and say they are not an optional appendage to children. There's wonderful single mothers there who are trying to do the best by their kids, but kids need their fathers. And until we can rebuild the family,
it's a false
but let's
argument.
talk about it. Obama could have started a discussion about fathers. It is the issue. There's nothing more important.
It's one of many issues.
73% of all black children are born to single mothers compared to 29% of white kids.
These statistics
got to
you're
close
talking
that
about,
gap.
these statistics you're talking about are heartbreaking for every African American. You think that you need anybody to tell us how terrible this is? We work on it every day, but we also need corporate America to step up. We need the president to speak out. We need more things than just dads doing better.
Well, let's have corporate Americans talk about fathers.
Last word.
Julius Wilson framed this decades ago. When work disappears, marriage declines. And as long as we have communities where there are no job opportunities, where the education systems are failing, you will not have an increase in marriage rates.
Obama
you can't take the fatherhood discussion and isolate it from the reality of the economic challenge.
Obama has said there's too many fathers who are acting like boys, not men, and nothing prevents you from marrying the mother of your children. That is within your own personal choice. And we have to say that fathers are essential to their kids.
Amen. I agree with you.
Yeah, you agree with her, but what you're talking about are bailouts and corporate America. You see, she's delivering the truth. And others are saying, well, the job market, and, well, okay, why raise the minimum wage? And the rungs on the ladder you just cut off because you didn't allow an entry level, but you want the state to fix it. See, I played this for you again because the debate we're having, the discussion we're having. What is the role of the federal government? Federal government is to protect the American people. Where should our resources go? Well, the lion's share should go to protecting the American people, not a welfare state. However you want to call it, entitlement or otherwise. I'm not saying that you've done anything wrong by doing what I've done and all of us have done by paying into a system. I am saying that the entitlement system pays out more than it takes in, and it's destined to fail. It's a Ponzi scheme. Beyond that, it's not constitutional. That said, is the job of the state to take your money, hold it for you, give you less back or more back, and then put that on the backs of the children of the next generation? That's intergenerational theft. No, I don't think it is. I think it is our government's job in the sense to protect the American people. Now, we can do that on a very limited way through the federal government. That way, I would rather encourage churches and organizations doing what they're already doing, but taking that call and allowing our tax code to reflect that fully to allow the American people to take care of the American people and localize it, because then you'll get the best results. You'll get more accountability the more local it is. Our founders understood this. On the federal government side, I believe that we need a strong military. Not only that, we need the very best military, period. And that will prevent a lot of wars from even happening because of the threat and the consequence of the people that do not share our values who start those wars. Do we ever take that lightly, of judging others and the consequence? No, we do not. But we also are not willfully blind to their behavior and their fruits. Look at the budgets of the 20s versus of today. Because the federal government's supposed to be the protector. The federal government's become the daddy, the state. It's statism, and in a way, and ironically, it's become a way to enslave the American people. And we see that in voting patterns. We see that with the fact that our health care and our retirement is locked up with the federal government and at the will of the federal government. I'm not comfortable with that. Ironic, because the federal government is supposed to protect our freedom, but through the welfare state, it's undermining it. Just food for thought. Please go to the Facebook page and remember this: God knows you, God loves you, He appreciates you, He created you, you're worth it. Live with honor in your life, compassion in your heart, and always keep the faith in Jesus Christ.